Thank you, Matty White, and here we are for the second race for the weekend for the Prototype Sports Cars Challenge here at Bathurst on Mount Panorama, of course. The race earlier in the day, Callum Brannigan, who's here with me for this one, was won by Kai Allen in the Radical. There's one just stopped going up the hill. Is that Kenny or is that Kai Allen? A bit hard to see just from this point of view. And we're getting a closer look. It looks like it's Alex Kenny, who did finish in the top 5 in the earlier race, but unfortunately there's been a drama with the Juno. It's powered by a Duratec engine. What I was going to say earlier, Callum, was that the fact that the winner was in a Duratec powered Radical, but it's turbocharged, so he got to the lead in the first sector against Neil Muston and just ran away with it.
Yeah, obviously with Kai Allen from South Australia behind the wheel of that Radical SR10 at the head of the field. That's heartbreaking stuff for Alex Kenny from New South Wales in that Juno. So the Duratec power plant behind him has given up. We're not too sure what the issue is exactly, but he's on pit exit. So hopefully it's not too hard for the hard-working race officials to get that car cleaned up and pushed back into the pit lane. But here we have the grid for race 2. Kai Allen starting on pole position alongside Neil Muston. Ryan Godfrey, Ricky Capo in the Praga. That's a fantastic looking car. Alex Kenny, who we saw is not taking part in this race. John Paul Drake, Philip Hughes, Mark Lorkie, Jonathan Canavan and Steve Roberts.
There behind them, it's Mark Rosser and Bretton Gruel in the SR3s, Aaron Lee in the West, Paul Palmer in the store, Terry Knowles, Ziri Lee Song in the other Wolf there towards the back of the field, and his car, of course, is powered by a Honda engine. And here's Kenny's car being towed into the back gate. He'd be very disappointed. He's so looking forward to this. Improved his lap times from qualifying into the race earlier today, and yeah, he'd be gutted over that.
So this is unusual for the Australian Prototype Series to be making an appearance at the Mount Panorama Circuit. 6.213 kilometres in length, undulating. It is a mega track, if not the best piece of racing tarmac in the world. So for the prototypes to be here this weekend, a little bit unusual. These cars are very low, they're very stiffly sprung, incredibly light, and a huge amount of downforce as well. So it really is a unique car to be steering around the Mount Panorama Circuit. And looking on the horizon there, you can see inclement weather has stayed away so far, and we also have a slippery surface flag being shown to the drivers. I suspect that is from the Gulf Western Oils Touring Car Masters race just before, Gary.
Yeah, with Cameron Tilley having some problems with his engine coming to the finish line. But we must mention that Ricky Capo dropped all the way down to 9th after turn 1. What happened there was a concertina effect with several cars going in together. Ryan Godfrey got a tap from behind and forced him into Ricky Capo. Ricky Capo got completely sideways in the Praga. Fortunately, managed to salvage it and then got underway. The other car that was well up the field at the start was Jonathan Canavan in the SR3. He just got swamped by the more powerful cars going up the hill and never really recovered. Went back to 11th, got the 9th. Rolling start, of course, and we're not far away from getting this one underway. 7 laps is the projected duration of this one, as they come out of Van der Teck Bridge and head down to Murray's Corner and around on the straight, and it's dictated by Kai Allen as about when they do go. And of course, Kai Allen made a name for himself this year, particularly in Super 3, running one of the Eccleston's VE Commodores.
Doing a stellar job so far this weekend. He did lose out to the lead going into turn 1 in the race earlier this morning from Muston, who starts alongside him, but they are underway and they scream down towards Hell Corner. But that's Godfrey, who's got a run on the inside of Kai Allen. He'll take the lead going into turn 1, and Ricky Capo will follow suit in the number 9 Praga. He gets a mega exit coming up Mountain Straight, and he will lead the field. That is a mega move from Ricky Capo, formerly from Formula 3 in the past, but around the outside as well. We've got a challenge there from John Paul Drake. So he's in the Wolf. He's going to have a look around the outside, but he pulls out of that one. So it's Ricky Capo in the lead. We've got Godfrey in P2, John Paul Drake in 3rd position. That's a mega start, Gary.
Yeah, Kai Allen has tipped out very badly there, and Capo was lucky, got a bit of a tow through turn 1 and then had the speed to get by up the hill ahead of Brian Godfrey. Of course, they're turbo-powered cars, a pair of them. A turbo-powered Renault in front, a turbo-powered Peugeot in second, and a turbo-powered Peugeot in third place at this stage.
Ricky Capo stretching the legs in that Praga R1. That car is from the Czech Republic, imported into Australia, as are most of the field here in competition this afternoon, coming over Brock Skyline for the first time underneath the Worth Bridge into the Super Cheap Auto Dipper. Fantastic to have these cars on the support bill for the 2022 Super Cheap Auto Bathurst International, and into the Shapler Forest Elbow and down Conrad Straight for the first time. So this will be a great indication to see who's got the best straight line handling in the prototype series, but also it's a great example of the draft and the slipstream effect in these cars, because they do have quite a lot of horsepower.
Yeah, turbo-powered cars will have the benefit going down the straight. Neil Muston, the only one amongst them that hasn't got a blower on his car, but he has got a V8 behind him.
So this is shaping up to be a great little race. That is Alan in position 5. That's the number 11 Radical SR10. And we've seen him at the front of the field for the entire weekend. So that's in practice and through qualifying. And up the inside is John Paul Drake in the car with the livery that can only be described as laughable. He's following a stern, or quite a good theme, in the sense that he has taken on the look of the Joker from the DC Comics. Oh, up the inside, that's Muston having a look at Godfrey. And running wide is Allen as well, bringing up just a little bit of dirt as they go up Mountain Straight for the second time, Gary. Yeah,
Godfrey looked like he didn't get onto the pit straight as well as he would have liked, but managed to salvage it as they went up on Mountain Straight, and any chance that Allen had of getting involved just didn't happen, because he ran wide out of Hell Corner and actually threw a wheel off the road. But they're losing time all the while this is happening. Our leaders are getting away from this trio of cars that are battling for position there.
Gee, that was a hairy moment coming into the cutting, and you saw just then flashing past the camera, that was John Paul Drake. He is the winner of this year's Prototype Championship, taking out the honours at the Ben Motorsport Park just a few weekends ago in wet conditions. And just more to that point about his theme with the Joker, his racing suit is also made to look exactly like the Joker from the comics. It's a brilliant theme, and I love that it stands out in this Prototype series. But he's all over the back of Ricky Capo, just 0.7 of a second as they come into the Dipper. But Godfrey on screen right now doing a superb job as well, as he did in race 1, having a super consistent weekend at Bathurst.
Also moving into this dice is Mark Lauke in the other Wolf Tornado as well, and of course it's Peugeot turbo powered as well. And he's making a fist of this with Phil Hughes in 7th spot in the SR8. Rosser in 8th in the first of the SR3s. Canavan, who's picked up a couple of spots after the start, is into 9th. Steve Roberts in his SR8 is in 10th. And here's a replay of the start, and they were juggling for position going in that corner. It looked like Godfrey got it initially until Capo snuck up the inside and got that position away and streeted him going up the hill the first time. Then all of a sudden Drake's into the picture as well, going alongside, and finally he managed to make a move on Godfrey down at Murray's Corner.
So that's Wolf on Wolf as well. Believe it or not, they are very similar cars, but obviously from the same manufacturer, but they are optioned with different aerodynamic components, and as well as a few other different chassis ancillaries on there. And there's Kai Allen running wide as well. It's surprising to see Allen down in P5 at the moment, because he really has been the leading car all weekend. So we'll keep an eye on him to see if he makes any progress in this race. Side by side, coming up to turn 2. Capo's got the inside line in that unique looking Praga, and he will hold on to the lead, but he's coming under fire from John Paul Drake.
And Drake would love this. He's a man that really enjoys his motorsport, no matter how it goes, and he'd be laughing there at the moment. Still, this battle goes on for third position with Muston all over the back of Godfrey, and all Allen can do is just watch and wait for a chance, and maybe this is where he's got it coming out of the cutting. They're side by side, but he had to pull out of it, and he's dropped a lot back from that as well.
That is not somewhere where you want to be side by side. There's a massive bump on the right-hand side of that corner as well, which unsettles the car. So that was a big risk there by Allen, and he had a lot of trust in Muston to hold it together and keep his composure, doing a brilliant job driving side by side. Here is a replay of that moment. So you can see the bump on the right-hand side, incredibly close there between the Radical SR8 of Muston and fending off the SR10 of Kai Allen. We've also got Lorkie showing up as taking a shortcut through Brock's Skyline. But here we have Ricky Capo. We've been waiting for this Praga to come alive all weekend, and this is the time to do it, I guess, when you're on Stan Sport.
Well, he's actually now pulled a little bit of a gap on Drake in second spot. Godfrey's got clear of this dice now, and here comes Allen. As he starts to make a move now to get back to the front of this field. They're on their third lap. They'll have 4 to go at the end of this one. So he has the time on his side, and he has had the pace. We've seen that through practice, qualifying, and the earlier race today.
And just looking at the sector times as well, Ricky Capo is certainly the fastest man over the top of the mountain. So he's got a 33.7, which puts him a little bit quicker than John Paul Drake, who makes up most of his pace down the long straights here. So this is a great little battle as well. This is the number 68 car of Terry Knowles on screen. This is a Radical SR3, and he's in pursuit of, it looks like Paul Palmer in the number 301 Storm.
The Storm, Suzuki Power. Oh. We've had a crash. Or almost a crash, car 17.
That's Mark Rosser, and he's tagged the rear of that Radical coming out of the chase on the run to Murray's Corner. So that's a bit of a mistake from him, but here we go. We've got a replay of this. So is he getting tagged from the rear? He is.
Yes. So they were the 2 leading SR3s, and there has been a touch, and fortunately Ross has been able to get straight into the pit lane with that. And there we see it, and pushed him back across the track, and he's hit the wall on the outside out of the Fanatec Bridge, and here it is, rear end damage, and I don't think he'd be very happy about the circumstances that led to that.
Absolutely not. The other car involved in that altercation was the number 67 of Jonathan Canavan, and racing resumes at the head. So this is the number 88 entry of Shinley Song, and he's having a brilliant battle with Paul Palmer here. So entrenched in the drag race here. These cars really, they look very similar, but they're very technically different underneath the skin. But that car of Paul Palmer's actually got a motorcycle engine underneath the hood, hasn't it?
Suzuki engine, whereas the car behind him is powered by a Honda engine, and the one in the rear of the shot is a Hayabusa powered car, which is part of the Suzuki family anyway.
Very spirited battle. So this is a good example of how they make their speed in different ways, but down Conrod Straight. That's Kai Allen. He's gotten past Godfrey, and there's a bit of flapping bodywork on the back of the Wolf being driven by Godfrey. So this is a good view of that as he comes through the chase and on the run to the final corner of the Mount Panorama Circuit. And it's visibly flapping especially when he's approaching terminal speed at the end of the long Conrod Straight. That's the number 8 entry. Just nursing a bit of damage there. So Kai Allen up into position 3. He's just under 7 seconds away from the lead.
Yeah, and well, can he catch the leading 2? And at the moment, Capo has pushed away, and he's just on a second ahead of Drake. We've got this 7-second gap, and we've got another slow car going across the top. That is the store of Paul Palmer. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as though it's damage. It might be just mechanical. Well, he's got a bit of damage on the front. Now that we get a close-up look at it, he's had a nudge with one of the concrete walls somewhere. And,
so he's lost it going into the dipper there, and it speared him into the right-hand side, and the number 68 car of Terry Knowles behind him did a brilliant job of taking evasive action, and the store there nursing a bit of damage there. So there's quite a bit of positive camber on the front right hand. As you can see, he's pulled over to the driver's left-hand side, exiting Forest Elbow, and he's pulling the gloves off, and that is a disappointing way for him to finish his weekend, unfortunately.
He's got the thumbs up, so he's okay. And actually, he raced a couple of weeks ago and had an accident there with Nick Kelly in a SR8, so hasn't been a good run for him at this stage with that car. But here, speaking of having a good run, there's Ricky Capo, and John Paul Drake has actually bridged that gap a little bit, but I don't think he's in a position where he can challenge for the win, and I think Drake will be now concentrating on holding on to his second spot, and the gap has remained stagnant. It hasn't come down at all back to Allen in third spot.
I think the car of Capo is quite handy in a straight line. Obviously, it's a closed-top sports car. in comparison to the rest of the field. Most of the prototypes that we see are indeed open top sports cars, so I dare say he would have a slight advantage and slightly less drag in that Praga R1. Doesn't it look sensational coming onto the main straight, Gary?
Well, you'd have to say it's the best looking car in the field without being derogative to anything else, but it certainly is the best car here. And we believe we're now on the last lap of this race. Ricky Capo leads, and that lead has come down in the bottom half of the circuit, but maybe he's just playing the game to keep the car in front without stressing it too much on this last lap. And I guess John Paul Drake would have the bit between the teeth. He wants to try and get an outright win, and he will try his best to do it, and his car will be good over the top. Well, they're all good over the top because they're aero efficient, these cars, and they're meant to be driven hard and fast as you like. From about this point around to Skyline, they're basically flat out.
Yeah, and it's all part of the mental game, isn't it, Gary, where the harder you push these cars and the more you rely on the aerodynamic grip, the faster they do go. But that's a bit of a daunting prospect at this part of the track in particular when you're going through the Great and through McPhillamy Park, approaching Brock's Skyline. And it looks like the Praga R1 being driven by Capo's pulled out a bit of a gap over Drake through that part of the circuit. So that gives him just a little bit of breathing room as they come through the Super Cheap Auto Dipper for the last time.
The big problem is telling your brain that you can do it.
Yes.
You know the car can do it, but telling your brain that you can do it is always a hard part. It's like some of the circuits like Phillip Island and Eastern Creek or Sydney Motorsport Park going through turn one at both those circuits.
Yes.
In these sorts of cars, you can do it flat out, but you've got to tell yourself you can do it.
But obviously, once you've done it once, you can convince yourself again and again, assuming that the tyres can hang on and keep up with your ambition going through that turn. So here they come up to the chase for the final time. 1.1 seconds between those two. It'll be a big ask for Drake to close down that gap. Of course, he is the 2022 Australian Prototype Series champion. But here is Ricky Capo. He's finally come to life in this Praga R1. He's got Murray's Corner to go. John Paul Drake making up a heap of ground on that last corner, but Capo will take the checkered flag just ahead of John Paul Drake. And here is third place getter Kai Allen. He was the race winner this morning, and he backs it up with another podium position in the number 11 Radical SR10.
And we look back further after that. It should be Ryan Godfrey across the line in fourth. Neil Mustin in the first non-turbo powered car in the top five as well. Mark Lauke coming in behind him. And then we should have Phil Hughes in the second of the SR8s coming across the line in position 7. John Canavan will be in 8th, the first of the SR3s. There's the full list of finishers as they turn out with Ricky Capo leading the way. As we said, Jonathan Canavan, the first of the SR3s, but that might change. He might be in a little bit of trouble for that incident that took out Mark Rosser. Then it's Steve Roberts in 9th and Brendan Gruoli in 10th. Aaron Lee is in 11th spot in the West, the Kawasaki powered car. Zin Lee Song in 12th. Then it's Terry Knowles, Bill Medlin, Greg Kenny, Paul Palmer, Mark Rosser in the pits. Alex Kenny didn't make the start.
So that's been an outstanding day for the Australian Prototype Series, hasn't it, Gary?
Certainly has.
So they will be back tomorrow for their third and final race, first thing tomorrow morning. But for now, that's all for today for the Australian Prototype Series.
Done and dusted. Back on stand tomorrow, of course, from around 8 in the morning right through to the end of the day.